Welcome back to Bloody Besties with your hosts, Ruby Wilde
and Melissa Mae.
This was not meant to be a series, but as we know, I love my rabbit holes. And when I jumped in, I found not just a rabbit hole, but then the little door and then another rabbit hole. So hopefully you guys like stories about big rig drivers because you've got an entire month of it in your future.
Semi-trucks.
What's the difference between a semi-truck and a big rig?
Just another word, I guess.
I do have two of my coworkers had no clue what a big rig was. I'm like, it's on our billboards, like accident with big rig. But anyway, so that being the case, the topic for the next month is truckers.
Truckers.
All right, hit me.
Did you know that truckers set a Guinness Book of World Records?
Like truckers in general or a trucker?
Like a group of truckers.
No, but it reminds me of that movie Convoy, or the other one where they come to life, 1980s one.
Stephen King.
Yeah, and like the soda machine is like chucking out cans.
Yeah, I can't remember that movie.
I can't either. Okay, listeners, if you know it, put it on our socials because I can't think of the name of it. Anyway.
In 2018 in the Netherlands, the longest truck convoy consisted of 587 semi-trucks.
And where was this?
The Netherlands.
I didn't even know that they had that many big rigs there.
I wonder how many went to Canada recently. Remember they did that convoy of like protesting?
No.
The American truckers. You need to watch the news more.
We went over this.
This was years ago, but a convoy of truckers from America went to Canada to help. I don't even remember why, but that's what I pictured. I wonder how many of those were.
I don't know. But yeah, we talked about it. I don't do the news because it gets me in my fills. And you were making fun of me because I'll do true crime podcasts.
Right. Those don't depress you.
No. All right. We're going to go ahead and jump in. There are too many serial killers that are or were long haul truckers. According to the FBI's Highway Serial Killings Initiative, as of June 2024, at least 850 murders across the United States for the past 30 years are believed to be connected to long haul truckers, and over 200 of those are still unsolved. There are currently 25 long haul truckers serving time for murder. And no, we will not be covering all of them during this series because that would take more than a month. The FBI group was formed after their analysts were receiving reports about bodies being found along interstates and highways. And there's a book that was released by Frank Pugliese. I think that's how you pronounce his name.
I like it.
It's called Long Haul, Hunting the Highway Serial Killers. And it goes into a lot of depth on a lot of the cases that we're going to be covering. So we're just going to be touching the surface on these, and he goes into a lot more of them and definitely deeper than I can get. And that's because he's the former assistant director of the FBI, so he had a lot more information than I had.
Oh, yeah.
And I did not read the book this time. I didn't want to be tainted. I wanted to write this without only his perspective.
Yeah.
So this series, it's not meant to be fear or hate mongering or against the profession as a whole, because all professions contain at least one killer. Every single profession that anybody works in has at least one person that killed
a bad apple.
Every single profession.
Yeah, I can picture that.
We love our truckers and all that they do for us, just not these ones. The last caveat I'm going to say is that there are a couple I will not cover because they are so depraved and I didn't want to research it. So I've seen enough horrifying things in my career that I don't need to put that in my head. So probably the most covered and infamous of the bunch is Robert Ben Rhodes, who murdered his way through Texas and Illinois, grabbing hitchhikers. He's one of the, you probably have seen the photo if you're a true crime junkie. It's the infamous photographic evidence where his trailer is a torture chamber and you could see the woman that's dressed scantily clad chained up inside
the cargo.
Yeah,
right.
The cargo hold. So if you're interested in that, there are a lot of podcasts that cover him. Another would be the Smiley Face Killer, which is Keith Jesperson, who killed sex workers from 1990 through 1995. He wrote taunting letters because he felt like he wasn't getting enough attention. And that's until he killed his girlfriend and was caught. And there is an entire podcast dedicated just to him. I did listen to it. It's really good, really thorough. I just don't think I can add to that one. Another well-known case would be the redhead killer, who worked his way through 1978, 1992. And technically it's unsolved, and it may be attributed to multiple killers. And there's a university in Tennessee where the students are actually working on the case, attempting to identify the victims and the killer himself. And they've actually been making progress. So that's pretty fun. A school project. And so everybody in this woman's class, they work on that project.
Yeah, which university? Is it UT, Knoxville, or
it's somewhere
MTSU?
It's somewhere east. Can't remember, and I should have written it down, but I didn't.
Probably UT. Don't know many other ones on the east.
I can't remember. All right. So again, we are a podcast that attempts to bring you cases that just don't have that much coverage. And so we're just going to go ahead and start. It's basically going to be a bunch of bloody briefs for the next month. So this one is actually happening right now. He was charged in August 2024 for 3 murders that happened in 1977 in Southern California. But I'm getting ahead of myself because it all started with a DNA sample that was uploaded into CODIS in 2022. And that was when Warren Luther Alexander, 71 at the time, was arrested and waiting trial for the murder of Nona Stamey Cobb in 1992. Nona was 29 when she was last seen at the Welcome Center rest area on I-85 in Cleveland County, North Carolina, getting into a black Peterbilt tractor trailer with someone described as looking like Warren. He was found on the morning of July 7th, 1992, by a truck driver on an on-ramp to I-77 in Elkin, North Carolina, in Surrey County. It took 3 weeks to identify the woman who had been strangled to death. Nona's sister, Vicki S. Gregory, gave a statement to the Journal in 1992 that her sister had been struggling with a drug problem. She loved her family, especially her 3-year-old son, Josh. Nona was a widow who lost custody of Josh less than a year before her murder. Josh went on to live with his Aunt Vicki, who said that Nona spoke to her son almost every day. Police recovered DNA from her body and her clothing in 1992, which was processed in 1995, and that eliminated their first suspect, Sean Patrick Goebel, who we will be covering, as chances are maybe you didn't hear of him. The samples were retested in 2021 because, as we know, science progresses, and it definitely did in the past 20 years. So the sample was identified with the help of Identifiers International, LLC, who performed forensic genealogy, and it led police right to Warren's door in Diamond Head, Mississippi.
I have a question.
Yes.
With DNA samples, every time they sample it, do they lose some of it? Like, you run out of it eventually. Yes, no?
You do. Okay, so say there's a sample on clothing. You have one stain, so you cut that stain out and you extract the DNA out of it. You're left with, it's called an aliquot. So you're left with an aliquot of DNA. And you concentrate it down and you put that into your PCR. You don't need much. I mean, we're talking less than a drop to do testing, a 16th of a drop of water. All you need is that in order to amplify it and test it. However, in 1995, they were doing restriction fragment length polymorphism, so RFLPs. And then they would run it on a gel, so you would need a lot more for that. So the tests that were done historically, you did need a lot more. So you would eventually run out, but you still wouldn't need to use all of it because your DNA is so concentrated. And you would store it in climate-controlled conditions, so like frozen. Biggest problem is if it's not stored properly, it will degrade. And same thing, like if you don't cut the stain out of the clothing and you don't store that properly, it also can degrade. Heat, hydration, sunlight, like direct UV light.
Keeping it in plastic instead of paper.
Yeah, that would. Things like that are all going to degrade your DNA. So if it has already been extracted into an aliquot that is then frozen and not tested continuously, like every single year, you should be perfectly fine to test a sample 20 years later. So
good to know.
Yeah, it lasts. And oh, here's your fun, disgusting fact of the day.
Love it.
All right. If you live in a house with males or you go to laundromats, them little spermies stick to clothes even through washings.
Oh,
So it's all nice and co-mingled with all of your clothes because sperm are so hardy because they have something called an acrosomal cap, and it's what's meant to like burrow its way into the egg.
yeah.
And so they're purposefully made to be very hardy to make
through
it
the
through.
heat of the dryer and everything.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So just know, like, if you share any household with any male or laundromat, that their little swimmers might be on your clothing. It's fun.
Yeah, well, that would be terrible if they're like, yeah, this lady's dead and sperm from someone she never knew
Mm-hmm.
was on her clothing.
Oh, I have
'Cause of a
another
laundromat.
segue on that one. Speaking of, so people that have no connection to a case, they had, I can't remember where it was. It doesn't really matter because this is going to be a short and sweet synopsis that we can go more in depth on if anybody wants to hear it. But basically, there was a bunch of crime scenes, like different types, rapes, murders, and all the samples that they collected had the same DNA. So they thought it was a serial killer. Well, then they found the manufacturer of the swabs that they were using to collect the samples. And what we use is sterile swabs. Well, this girl that worked at the factory, I think it was a girl, um, she wanted to feel the cotton to like make sure it was the right consistency and density. So she didn't wear gloves
Oh my God.
when she was making the cotton swabs. And so she was in all of these samples from all of these different crimes.
Okay, so touch it, but then throw it away. Don't repackage it.
No, like she was in the manufacturing plant.
Yeah.
Well, she was touching every single one.
Gosh.
Yeah. So when we talk about contamination and stuff like that, it does happen very frequently. And the good news is touch DNA is a hit or miss. So you'll be lucky. But yeah, I mean, and when it comes to searching for, say, semen, we look for the stains and then you do your pre-test. Well, if you've just got a couple spermy here and there, I'm not going to find a stain. A sperm here and there is not going to light up with your alternate light source.
And you're not going to look at every inch of their clothing under the microscope
if I don't have a need to.
Stain.
Yeah. So you should be perfectly fine because the acid phosphatase, which is what glows, would be washed away. It's just the spermies that aren't. Good times, right?
Yeah.
There's your little primer for the day on semen.
You know.
Oh, I just pictured the rainbow.
Yeah.
Side note, we're recording in Melissa Mae's closet because it's got some good soundproofing with all the clothing. And so it's kind of funny because we're sitting in here drinking our wine and water with like, it's all just on shelves.
She's got her wine next to the Hey Dudes.
You know, it works. Now, who was this man? He was born in 1951 and grew up in Oxnard, California in the 1950s and 60s. While he was away, he worked as a cab driver, he worked as an electrician for the Marine Corps, and then he moved back to California in the 1970s to work as a long-haul trucker. He had no criminal record, he made no waves in his community, but he was quick-tempered with the neighbors' children who walked on his lawn.
I get it.
I get it too. Like the older I get, the more I'm like, who are you?
Like children.
Mm-hmm.
Focus, focus.
Yes. He never smiled or waved at them. Okay, no,
That's weird.
That makes me mad. Like if
Yeah.
I'm driving by and I wave to you and you don't wave to me on our small little backcountry roads.
Oh, yeah. I'll do like the two fingers.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, all right, bitch, and I'll flip them off.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, you can go fuck
Rude.
yourself too.
But I also judge the car coming. If it looks like they don't belong back here, I don't wave.
Oh, I do.
But
100%.
if it looks like, pickup truck, then I'll throw a couple of fingers out.
I also like to make it awkward and I'll hold my hand up the whole way. And if they don't wave
And
to me,
make
then
eye
I start
contact.
waving. Like I make it full awkward. I don't care. You best wave to me.
You're like the happiest person in your county.
Hell is this chick? But it's almost like I've trained some of them because the ones that didn't used to wave to me, now they do it like immediately.
Oh, good. Like, make her stop. If you wave back, she'll stop. Just, okay. I could see them like driving past you, like they've already passed you, and all of a sudden you're like jogging against the window and be like, hey, say hi.
And I have a pretty distinctive car too, so they can see me coming. It's a very unique blue color. But yeah, I'd be like, excuse me, maybe you didn't see my hand. Hi, hi. Which is so funny because I'm so not that person, but if I'm in my car. But yeah, so it's weird when you don't smile or wave at your neighbors. It's super weird. And local waitresses said that he would get pissed about anything wrong with his order. And my dad's the same way.
That's like a Chad.
I mean, yeah. Is that the male version of a Karen?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He also was known to call the police on petty little things, like if somebody left something on his lawn. Like, okay, that's petty.
Are we in Oxnard still? Again?
Yeah, we're back in Oxnard.
Okay.
Wait, this might be Mississippi where he was living.
Oh.
I don't know. They just said his neighbors. Maybe it's all of them. I wouldn't be calling the cops. I would probably just chase after you and throw it back after you. Others that knew him said that his problem, like, it wasn't really a problem. He was just a stickler for the rules, which, I mean, military guy, maybe that is it. He was just, this is what I do. This is why I'm not friendly. I am here to do business. That's it.
Cuts his grass with scissors.
Yeah, we had that woman in our neighborhood. We did. He also raked her tree to get the leaves to fall faster, so that way then she could sweep them up. She was crazy. We called her Crazy Martha.
Martha.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so, I mean, we don't like this guy, so fuck him. But they said that's what it was. Like, so long as you understood that he was just military mindset, he kept to himself. He never drank with buddies. Okay. After his arrest for this crime, there was a statement given by North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein, which I needed to quote this because it was awesome. Quote, "We are sending a clear message to the victims and the families that you all matter. And in the justice system, we will not stop fighting for you. To the rapists who commit this crime, we will not stop coming for you." It gave me chills when I read that. I'm like, yeah, because it's true. Before he went to trial for that case, he was connected to 3 more that happened before Nona's murder: Kimberly Carol Fritz, Velvet Ann Sanchez, and Lorraine Ann Rodriguez. Their cases now were being re-examined in February 2023. Kimberly was only 18 when she was found at the Marion Motel on May 29, 1977, by Hu Chung Chen, who had been the owner of the motel at the time. She had been strangled with her own pantyhose and was left with what former senior deputy Herbert Parrish believed was a bra, also left around her neck. I don't know how you don't know that it's a bra, but I was just talking because I recently had to go testify again, and we were talking about, awkward things to say on the stand. And I said, I once had to testify that I knew how a bra functioned, so that way then I could testify to the fact that I knew it was damaged. So I'm on the stand, looking the jurors in the eye, wearing a bra, going, yes, I am quite familiar with bras. And the defense attorney was calling it a brassiere. She's like, and how do you know that the brassiere was damaged? And I said, well, as a woman, I am very familiar with the functions of a bra. And I knew that this could no longer clasp because of blah, blah. And that is how I know that it was damaged and no longer functioning as intended. My contact with people that could be my dad's age was, I'm like, don't look at my tits now. Yes, I'm wearing a bra. So I don't know how you couldn't know that it's a bra, and I don't think I could say bra any more times than what I have in the past 2 minutes.
Brassiere.
Brassiere. I'm going to call it a brassiere. When they examined her vehicle that was there was a fingerprint on the front right inside door handle of her Plymouth, and that was a match to Warren as well. She had been a sex worker that worked the area, and that area was described as the Stroll. To me, that's kind of cool. It's like the red light district, but they call it the Stroll.
Stroll. I picture an alley full of workers.
See, and I'm picturing those old 70s and 80s movies where it's like all the girls in like the ostentatious, and it's dark and they've got like the bars over the window and they're like walking down the seedy little street.
Yeah. Kind of leaning against the poles and stuff.
Leaning into the cars.
Yeah.
Now, Velvet, she was 31 when she was found at the Villa Motor Court Motel in Oxnard. She was found by an employee in one of the rooms, having been strangled with her pantyhose as well. She had 3 children and was separated from her husband, living at the hotel for around a month before her murder. Witnesses saw a white bearded man in his 30s or 40s. He was around 6 feet tall, 250 pounds, and he was wearing overalls with a tan jacket. Velvet also was known to work the stroll. Lorraine was found dead at the age of 22 on December 27th on a bridge in Laguna Road in Oxnard. A sheriff deputy believed it was a bra tied around her neck and strangled. I don't know why they keep saying believed. Maybe it's because it's the 70s. She had been living also at the Villa Motor Court Motel. She was a married mother of two, last seen December 26th. Police believed that she had been killed at the hotel and then left on the bridge. So they didn't want two murders at the same hotel, the suspect. It was Warren. Spoilers. The women were all arranged, for lack of a better word, in a degrading fashion. They all had biological samples recovered during their autopsies, and sperm was recovered from all of them. Again, this is the 1970s. Good job, boys.
Just held on to it.
Mm-hmm. Because the DNA match from CODIS happened, he was extradited to California in August 2024 to be charged with those 3 murders because he was being held for the single murder of Nona. And so they decided to go for the trifecta, rather. He pled not guilty at his arraignment. That happened on August 21st, 2024. And on October 18th, Judge Paul Feldman in Ventura County made the go-ahead for a trial after a 3-day preliminary hearing. Trial has yet to take place. The one in North Carolina for Nona also has not been taken place, but it's been stated that they're going to go for a life sentence rather than the death penalty to save money and time, because you require less to give somebody life in prison than you do the death penalty. Not to mention California doesn't really have the death penalty anymore.
They wanted to ensure some sort of conviction.
Mm-hmm. So either way, even if he gets found not guilty in California, he's going to have another go-around in North Carolina. But yeah, North Carolina pretty much says, we defer to you. You guys go first. We'll take the leftovers.
3 over there.
Mm-hmm.
We have 1.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to have to check back in on that trial within the year. If you know how to put up a Google alert, put his name in or something. I don't know how to do that. I'm old. And now, remember I said that we will be coming back to Sean Patrick Goebel. Here we go. He did not get away with his murders for nearly as long as his counterpart. He called himself the ladies' man. He was 6'3", almost 300 pounds. Yeah, I don't get how that's a ladies' man, but whatever.
We don't fat shame here.
No, it's not the fat shame. It's if you saw his picture, we don't fat shame. Just anyway.
He called himself the ladies' man.
Yes, and that's it. That's another tick in the no column. If you have to give yourself like a nickname, no. No.
And like when the serial killers have to name themselves.
Oh my gosh.
It's another cringe.
Oh my, yes. Like if you have to sign your letter, Keith Jesperson, smiley face killer. I think he just wrote smiley faces, but whatever. People described him as a gentle giant or a very scary man. He was bipolar to the extreme, and well, I'm not bipolar shaming because I am. He literally just had 2 sides. And he had, quote unquote, the wild one painted on the cab of his big rig truck. So very identifiable. And his route took him all over North Carolina state lines. So he was centered in North Carolina, but North Carolina has, 5 connecting states, something like that. And so he did all of those. He was doing more than just driving, though, because he left a trail of despair in his wake. He was born 1966 in North Carolina, and then his family moved to Illinois. All was not well, however, because when his father, Kenneth, was arrested in 1974 for raping a 10-year-old girl during a home invasion, John was in the car outside when his father did this. Mm-hmm. That might tweak your brain just a bit. His dad was sentenced to 4 to 20 years for the crime. He served 4. Yeah. He was not reformed. Don't know why they let him out. He moved to New Mexico, where he was charged for the rape of a 6-year-old. Yeah. And for this crime, he pled in 1986. He was sentenced to 18 years in New Mexico. I have no clue what happened to the dad after this, which probably means he either didn't get out of prison, died in prison, already dead, or just stopped raping little kids, because I would have found the crimes. Now, all the while, Sean was living his life, with his dad doing seedy things. He dropped out of high school his senior year. He joined the army. He got married. They had a son. They divorced. Sean had no further contact with his son after this, so I'm assuming that it was not an amicable split. He then moved back to North Carolina in 1988, and that's when he became a trucker, or where he became a trucker in 1991. He was arrested April 13th, 1995, at the age of 28 in North Carolina for murder. The turning point for his downfall could start with the murder of Brenda K. Hagee on January 1995. She was found murdered in Bristol, Virginia, which is one of my favorite places because if you go down Main Street of Bristol, one side of the street is Virginia and the other side of the street is Tennessee. And that's also where the Bristol NASCAR races are, which is my favorite track.
That's my favorite track.
Yeah.
Small.
It's small. It's called the Thunderdome because it's so rumbly. We saw a dirt race there and a regular race.
In the rain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there's a line down the street, right?
Yeah.
That shows the
Yeah.
seats.
In fact, I have a painting that a local artist there did, and it shows it. So it's pretty cool. But that, unfortunately, is where Brenda spent her last moments, and she was left on the side of a residential road. She was left partially dressed, strangled. Her right leg had been run over. There were tire marks left in blood that indicated that she was most likely driven over by an 18-wheeler. Near her body were white jeans and a plastic Winn-Dixie grocery bag. In the jeans was a receipt for a taxi, and that was how they were able to get the identification that this was Brenda. So they tracked down, blah, blah. She was a woman from Indiana. She was a drifter. She had a record for trespassing at truck stops. And that's the trespassing at truck stops is what you get when they have posted no lot lizards. And then they still go there to perform their business. Mm-hmm. And if one of the truckers reports it, they get arrested for trespassing. Or like not just the truckers, obviously the owners of the facility. They're also reported.
Does it say no lot lizards or does it say like no soliciting?
It's probably no soliciting, but a lot of the truckers, and you see this sometimes and you're going to notice it more. Like if you stop at a rest stop, they have signs in their window and it'll be like a lizard with a like circle and a line going through it that they tape up in their windows when they go to bed.
Wow.
It's kind of fun. That grocery bag that was found near her, that Winn-Dixie, it had a thumbprint on it. And that's where the FBI took off. Detective Kenneth L. Wilson and his partner, Detective Ross Sheets, were on her case, and there was a niggling with this murder and how they thought it might be connected to a series of homicides that were brought to light on Unsolved Mysteries at the time. Love that show.
Wow.
Love that show. Now, there were numerous women who had been dumped along the highway in multiple states. They had all been strangled, missing clothing, killed in a primary location, and then dumped in the secondary. It was believed that they were all killed by a trucker with the CB handle Stargazer. Yeah, again, I mean, yeah, I get that you have to give yourself a handle, but whatever.
It's like hippie.
It reminds me of Joyride. Candy cane.
That's what I pictured when you were talking about the movie about the semis. Yeah. Joyride, where he was like hiding in the motel. And
no, the one that I was talking about was where the
I remember the machine.
Yeah, but it's where the big rigs become sentient. It happened in like the 80s, early 90s.
I gotta look it up.
Okay, I'll get back to you on that.
But I remember Joyride.
Now, while they were all waiting for the print comparison from the bag, another woman was found February 19th. She was left on the side of the road in Guilford County, North Carolina. She had been wrapped in a blanket, and when unwrapped, they found that she too had been strangled. She was 34 years old and a known sex worker, Sherry 2 Mansour. She had last been seen January 31st, visiting her sister in Maryland. It only took 1 month for the next woman to be found. March 19th, Rebecca Alice Hain was found along I-81 in Tennessee on an overpass, just over 20 miles from Brenda. Because remember how I said Bristol's on the border? Yeah, Maximum Overdrive. That's the movie.
Emilio Estevez.
Yes,
screams 80s and 90s.
Yes, it was a good movie. If you haven't seen it, go back.
I have to watch it.
I liked it. So yeah, just 20 miles from Brenda. She also was partially dressed, strangled, and had been run over by a big rig. She had been arrested previously for trespassing at truck stops, and that's how they were able to identify her. 3 weeks after finding Rebecca, the FBI called to tell the detectives they had a match for the thumbprint on the bag. It was near Brenda. It was Sean Wolf. He had previously been arrested September 1994 for reckless driving, resisting arrest, and creating a public disturbance with a prostitute. That's the charge. I'm not calling her a prostitute. As we know, I call them sex workers because it is freaking work. The charge is with a prostitute.
That's what they call it.
Yes. He worked for the Rocky Road Express in North Carolina, and that was what led him to traversing multiple states, which therefore makes it easier to get away with murder because then you have to deal with jurisdictions.
Yeah.
The big rig, let us not forget, it's the black big rig with the wild one on the side. On April 12th, 1995, Rocky Road showed police Sean's driving logs, and that put him in the areas of each of the murders at the time that the women were killed. Sean was taken into custody the following day, and he said the reason for his thumbprint being on the bag with Brenda's body is explainable. He said he gave her a ride, he stopped to sleep, woke to her on top of him, and he was mad about this. So he strangled her to get her off of him. This 6'3", 300-pound man needed to strangle this woman to get her off of him, that she went limp. He said that during the altercation, she had a bloody nose, so he put the bag on her head to prevent her from bleeding in his truck. In his truck, they found Rebecca's pocketbook, and when confronted with this, he admitted that he picked her up in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and killed her in Jefferson County, Tennessee. And then he finally admitted to killing Sherry in Orange County, North Carolina. So he wound up pleading guilty to murders of Brenda and Rebecca in Tennessee, and he was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences. And then on December 15th, 1995, that was on December 15th, 1995. He was then extradited to North Carolina so he could plead guilty to the murder of Sherry. For that, he received an additional 14 years. So he's going to die in prison.
Yeah.
All right. I know I said that we were going to be doing bloody briefs, but this one's a little bit bigger than the previous 2 I've talked about. A lot of this information I gathered from Court of Appeals transcripts and all of the trials that happened on this case. The need to add that a lot of reports say that he confessed to the murders. That is not referenced ever in the appeal documents. So I am going to go off of court documents, as I feel like those are a little bit less wishy-washy than news articles. So I'm going to go with the fact that he never confessed. He also claims he's innocent and has never pled guilty. So I'm not an investigative journalist, just going off of court records. The downfall of this man started June 6, 2007, when Charles Scruggs, a maintenance person for the Pilot's truck stop in Lebanon, Tennessee, said that he was collecting garbage. That's how it's said. Okay.
Like, ooh, that's close.
Yeah, it is. And yes, it is called Lebanon, Tennessee. Right. If you call it Lebanon, you're wrong.
Screaming that you're not from here.
Well, it's not only that. 1, we had family live there, but 2, it's the way that this state pronounces the name. Right. Just like it's Shelbyville, not Shelbyville.
Shelbyville and Nashville.
And Murfreesboro, not Murfreesboro.
That's still...
You call it Murfreesboro?
A lot of people call it both.
Yeah.
So
I just don't
that's
like
a weird one.
Yeah. Okay, fine. But
even the news says it both ways. So whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so we're at the Pilot truck stop in Lebanon, Tennessee. He was collecting the garbage for his morning rounds at 8 a.m., and he was shocked to find a nude, deceased woman in the trash can he was about to use.
I'd be shocked too.
Just a little, because you'd think everybody would. Is this a mannequin? And it's never a mannequin. Did I ever tell you? I know I'm on a lot of segues on this one, but remember when I was doing that search for the decedent in the city dump?
Yeah.
And the amount of mannequins that we did come across.
Wow.
And every time we thought it was who we were looking for, we were like, this is one of the few times we're hoping for a body.
Yeah.
And it's a mannequin.
Dang it.
I guess sometimes it is a mannequin. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
But yeah, people throw away a lot of mannequins, and the hairdresser practice heads.
Yes.
They throw those away too. I think when they damage the hair too much, they just get rid of it. But yes, those do get thrown away, and that is when we get mannequins. But
get all excited, and it's like, ugh. Yeah.
And I know it's weird to be excited by that, but
you gotta get closure for the family.
I know, we tried. But yes, so this time it was not a mannequin. He went and notified his manager. Manager called the police. The trash can was located in a fenced-in area of the truck stop, and it was around 10 to 15 feet from the parking area. We've all seen these where you have the giant trash can. Well, at least those of us in the United States have seen these. I don't know if this is worldwide. And we do almost have every single continent.
Really?
Uh-huh. We don't have every country, but we're missing a couple continents. Wait. Yeah. I think we're missing Africa and Asia. But other than that, we do have listeners in all the different continents.
Well, that's a milestone.
It is. And so spread the word if you have people on those, so that way we could get the download count.
Yeah.
But they're like giant bins. I've had to do a couple of dumpster dives in these things, and you lift the lid. But a lot of the times what people do is they put them in a fenced in area that you need a key to get to, because they don't want people just dumping their garbage randomly, because we have to pay for garbage in this state.
Yeah, I used to do that.
See?
Drive around with the back of my truck.
You.
Like, oh, there's a dumpster that's not secure.
You. But that's why they're secure.
One bag.
I don't do that. I'm a good girl.
I don't do it anymore.
Well, our garbage guy now.
Yeah.
I love him. He's like this old man. I can not
You got to get a
understand him.
recording of him talking.
Oh my God. I've only met him once.
Yeah.
My husband said when he walked up that my eyes were just bug-eyed because he was trying to talk to me. And it's just a man in his own truck. And we pay him $25 a month. And he comes to our shed and empties the garbage. But if you've ever heard of Boomhauer from King of the Hill, it's like him if he was drunk and talking. So even more slurry and rambling. And I'm like, I can't understand. I don't even know what his name is. I don't know what his name is. I've lived at this house for over a year, and I've met him one time. He's very stealth. I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a fenced in little area. So in order to get there, it would be noticeable that you're trying to dump something in there. She had been found feet first into the trash can, and her head was kind of hanging over the rim, and trash had actually been left on her back. So somebody had used the trash can after she had been left in there.
So rude.
And the way that she was draped, you would have seen her. So maybe it was the killer that did that.
Maybe it was dark.
I mean, you're just not looking, or like you chuck it over the fenced in area.
It's probably employees, and they're like, oh, I gotta close,
Mm-hmm.
throw the trash and get out of here.
Mm-hmm. So she did have trash on her back. The police erected a tarp tent around the trash can with her still inside, and then they put cyanoacrylate fuming, so it's super glue. So they like built a little room,
Like a sprayed room.
yeah,
Painting.
yeah,
A painting tent.
yeah, a
Okay.
little painting booth
All right.
for the super glue fuming. So it super glued everything, including her body, because you can super glue a body to look for fingerprints.
So please explain some more.
Okay, so
Because I know we all put glue on our Elmer's glue on our hands and peeled it off.
yes,
Is it?
no, it doesn't, because it is super glue. So it is attracted to the oils in that are like all fingerprints. What they're made of is your skin's oils, and so when you heat it up, it turns into a fume, and that fume attaches to the oils. I'd have to. It's been a long time since I've researched that one. And what it does is it then solidifies like it would super glue. So then you can powder that, and you can ensure that you're not destroying any of the prints, and you would get more defined prints that are left behind, and you would be able to find more, and you would see like which ones are better quality than the others. You don't even have to powder them. A lot of the times you could just see it. And now they have these really cool, it looks almost like a vape pen. So like if you were to the mouthpiece, if you were to flip it the other way, and you would light it like you would a vape pen, how it heats, and you could now do the super glue fuming that way. It's pretty cool.
I've never heard of super glue fuming.
Really? Cyanoacrylate?
Commonly reported on the news, I guess.
Oh, we use it
Pretty
for
neat.
a lot of the times for guns. Use it for anything that is kind of a slippery surface.
I'm surprised they didn't take the whole dumpster back to the crime lab, because that's pretty mobile.
It is, but like the trucks that you would need to do it and all that stuff, it's easier just to do it in situ, which means in the situation. Well, in basic terms, that's not exactly what it means. I know somebody out there is like, no, it's not.
Not how you say it.
Yeah. Like we've had, dumpsters and barrels and stuff, and that's fine. Like if it's the normal ones that are just outside your house, but the big ones, you would have to get a separate vehicle.
Truck.
Yeah.
Like a tow truck.
A lot of the times they just don't want to do it. Yeah. So, and you would then be transporting the body. It would move things around. If you do it there, everything is how it was found
Yeah.
and most likely how it was left. And you're not introducing
Especially on Tennessee
anything.
roads. A little bumpy.
Oh my fucking Bronco. So they did that while it was there, and that included her body, and that was to find any of the latent prints that were left on her skin and on the trash can. Her hair had been matted with blood, and when they looked closer, it looked like she had been shot, and that was confirmed at autopsy. She was shot on the right side of her head, and there was no soot or stippling. So that means it was not a contact shot, and it wasn't even close range. It would be intermediate, which is greater than 2 feet normally. Let's go greater than a foot. The bullet and 2 fragments were recovered, and a sexual assault evidence kit was collected, and her talk screen did show signs of cocaine. The scene itself was fully processed. The contents of the trash were gone through and collected, including what was found on her and everything that was in the trash can itself. The area around, they found a cigarette butt, a piece of rolled wire, and a crushed can, and some vomit from a grassy area nearby. Truck stop, people puke. I mean, I've done it at a truck stop before. Have you never?
TMI.
What? No, not like, I mean,
Vomited?
Yeah. Remember how I told you I was coming home from Vegas that one time and I had food poisoning? I decided to try and keep crab legs in a trash can with ice overnight and then ate them the next day. I paid for the buffet. I was going to get my money's worth.
Yeah.
And it was not a good idea because I then had to do a 5-hour drive with food poisoning, which is why I was puking and pooping all over the place. Everywhere. So yes, it happens.
No, I've not puked at a truck stop.
Oh.
I puked out a cab at my bachelor party.
Nice.
I was like, pull over. Open the door. And
nice. I've been segueing a lot this episode. Sorry, guys. It's been a while since Mel and I have been in the same room.
keeps everybody on their toes. They don't just like zone out.
Yeah.
Segue. Get back with us.
All right. Circling back around.
Ugh.
Went to the station and obtained the gas station, not the police station. They went into the gas station, obtained the video footage from the span of time from June 4th until she was found on the 6th. And police were able to identify their victim by fingerprints. And she was determined to be Samantha Winters, 48, a sex worker with a record in Davidson County, which is pretty much Nashville, Tennessee. She was last seen alive on June 5th at the truck stop at 2 p.m. as a passenger in a vehicle. The lead detective from Lebanon Police Department, Kirk Whitefield, interviewed drivers that had parked around the area of the trash can, and they said there was a driver that had been parked in front of the trash cans, and they saw him going in and out of the passenger side of his vehicle. This was Greg Pesnell, and when asked, Greg said that he was using the passenger side because if you locked the driver's side, it got stuck and you couldn't open it. It was confirmed to be the truth. Like, even though he was acting sketch and going, I have had a car that, while broken, I could only get in and out of the passenger side. And then you just climb over the console and you call it a day. And if you don't have the money to fix your car, it's what you do. Okay.
Is that the Mustang?
You probably had to deal with that because it was when I was in high school.
And my front yard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. True. I was like, wait a minute. You do know this. I was like, no. I have to get in first and then you could follow. It's been a long time. Okay. We've had quite a life together. So that was confirmed. And so Greg was not the person who dumped the body. He gave consent for the police to search his truck. They did it twice. Once was cursory, once was forensically. No blood was found on the interior. On the exterior, however, there were small drops of what appeared to be blood on the tarp that covered the trailer. So we've seen all those. These areas were cut out and preserved. So rather than just swabbing it, they were like, no, we're just going to take it. And he was not considered a suspect after the search and his interview. And the blood on the tarp could possibly have been incidental to the person that was depositing the body in the trash can. Hate to say it, but when you flop something in, it splashes. It's bad. Mm-hmm. Now, other trucks in the area were searched and no other evidence was found. In that same month, 20 days later, Sarah Nicole Holbert, who was 25, was found at Truck Stops of America gas station, so TA, in Nashville, Tennessee. June 26th, around 12:50 a.m., the head of security at the truck stop, he was doing his rounds. He found her nude with a bloody head in the vicinity of the trash cans. She was found lying on her back with the bottoms of her feet together and pushed forward. So think of the butterfly pose. Is this a good description? She was like this.
It looks great.
Yes, I'm demonstrating for Melissa to make sure that I'm describing it right. So butterfly pose is how she was left. Of note, he made his rounds around 30 minutes prior and she was not there. So this all happened within 30 minutes. The victim was wearing an ID bracelet, so they knew who she was. She identified herself. Her autopsy showed that she was also shot in the head with a .22 caliber projectile that was still inside. That normally happens. 22s don't normally go through and through. What they do, they go into your brain and ricochet around and make it soup. So they're really good at killing people, which is kind of weird.
Weird because people make fun of them. Like, oh, what are you going to do? Piss them off?
Yeah.
No, it's going to go in you and bounce around a bunch.
Mm-hmm. They're lethal.
Watch First 48 and you'll find out. Almost every single one is a 22.
I mean, I work with a lot of guns that are 22s that have been used in crimes for murder.
My favorite little pew pew because it doesn't kick.
And it doesn't blow out your eardrums.
Yeah.
And it sounds worse than a BB gun, but it's definitely quieter than a 40 or a 9.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was still in her head, which is nice because then you can recover it for comparison. She, too, was shot through the right side of her head at close range with a downward angle. This time there was soot around the wound. There was an abrasion near the shooting site and multiple other signs of blunt force trauma and abrasions. So on the rest of her area, her left eye, nose, forehead, neck, and chest all had bruisings. She had lacerations of her anus that were inflicted at the time or shortly after her death, and contusions around her vagina, so bruising. She also had blood on her feet. Swabs were recovered from her chest and thighs and stomach. She was last seen the night before riding around and using drugs, and she left the van that she was in around 11 p.m., give or take, to meet, quote, her old man Derek, which her significant other. Her sister described Sarah as having never met a stranger. She was funky and outgoing. She was down to earth, loved the outdoors, would give anything to someone who needed it, like shirt off your back kind of girl. She did admit that her sister was addicted to drugs. She was also able to relay to the police that she had a tattoo on her backside, which putting the pieces together because she had a portion of her skin on her backside that was removed. Not corresponded with where that tattoo was.
Oh, he's trying to remove it so they couldn't identify her?
Mm-hmm.
But he left the ID bracelet on her.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
so glad they're dumb.
Yeah. I mean, dumb criminals, they're my bread and butter.
Yep.
So upon searching the area, they found blood between the trailers that were parked in the area, a muddy location with a shoe impression that was cast. At this scene, surveillance footage showed the suspect's truck based on timing. So now they're getting closer. The lead detective for Samantha's case was contacted later by Metro Nashville Police Department Detective Kat Postaglione, very Italian name, who was working on Sarah's case and said that he had a victim in similar circumstances. So they're starting to communicate. The .22 caliber bullet removed from her head was able to be compared to the bullet from Samantha, and they found points of comparison between the two cases. That is what I do for a living, so good job, peeps. Police returned to that TA gas station in Nashville to look at gas receipts, and they saw that a truck that was parked there that matched the suspects. And when they asked the driver to step out of the truck and talk, it was then that they noticed what appeared to be blood on the driver's side door and possibly even on his hand. They asked the man, "Can we have a DNA sample?" And he said, "Sure." Then they asked for permission to collect the blood-like substance, and he said, "Sure." He then gave them permission to search his truck so long as they didn't tear it up. So this man is fully complying, and you're just like, okay, like you probably had nothing to do with this because you're fully compliant. Inside the truck, they found electrical tape, a pocket knife, a trash bag with possible blood, napkins, and ladies' clothing. When asked, the driver said that he cut his leg, and that was the blood on the napkins. When asked to show where the cut was, there wasn't one. There was also a pair of black shoes in the cab with a sole similar to that was left at the Nashville crime scene. When asked, he also admitted to having a .22 caliber rifle in the truck. He was put under arrest. He agreed to give a formal statement when at the station without a lawyer present. This is where people may be getting to where he said he confessed to the crimes, but there is no record of a confession. So you may hear on other podcasts, he confessed. I will not say that, according to the court records.
And always have a lawyer, no matter what.
Always.
Always have a lawyer.
Always. Can you come in for questioning? Let me call a lawyer first.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to hide? Nope, but I don't want to put my foot in it.
Mm-hmm.
I've been known to say things that'll get me in trouble.
And they'll keep you there forever until you finally just confess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's their job. Yeah. They also are legally allowed to lie to you.
Correct.
So, lawyer. Never take a polygraph. Always get a lawyer. Rules of thumb. Bloody bestie, rule number 1 and 2.
Unless you are the murderer, then don't get a lawyer and get caught.
Yeah, duh. I would hope that we don't have murderers listening to our podcast. If you are, turn yourself in. We are your conscience. This is your sign.
You're
it is
not
time.
your bestie.
So the man who agreed to give a statement, he said Richard, or went by Richie. He additionally added the name Terry Sanders. Okay, we're going to give a very long story short, because otherwise this episode would go on forever. He previously knew these men from Southern Illinois who entered his truck while he was outside of his truck. He came back and he found the dead nude body of a woman with a plastic bag on her head wrapped with electrical tape around her neck. He said that the men told him that they had sex with her and they believed that they used his rifle to kill her. Then they just left and they told him that her body was his problem now. He said that's why he left Sarah in the way in which she would actually been found draped over the trash can. He added that this was not their first or the first murder that he witnessed that trio do, that they had murdered 7 different women across different states. He said that he went along with it because they threatened his daughters. He said he had nothing to do with the murders, and even though there was evidence in his truck, the only thing he was guilty of was disposing the bodies out of fear. The rest of the women and their alleged murder dump locations have never been corroborated. Now, who was this man? This man was Bruce Mendenhall, and he was described by neighbors from his farm town in Albion, Illinois. They have a population of under 2,000. Yeah. He was a meek man who was also a loudmouth. He left rusting cars in his yard. He wouldn't wave to anybody when they passed. Okay, this is a trigger, okay? If you don't wave to people when you pass, I'm going to think you're a killer. His wife, Linda, that he married in 1981, had diabetes, which left her mostly blind, and she just would sometimes go along on road trips with him, so she wasn't left alone and bored. The couple had 2 daughters that were older at the time of his arrest. He once ran for mayor in 1997 because of the rusted car incident, because people were reporting it like, HOA fun. And his platform was basically vote for me because I'm not the incumbent. And he received 49 of 911 votes. Yeah. Now, who were these men that he was accusing? Police tracked them down. They all gave their fingerprints and DNA. With regards to Richie, his mom had to speak on his behalf. His mom was Lori Young. He was his legal guardian because he was mentally incapacitated, because he had autism and schizophrenia, so she was his legal caretaker. She said she didn't believe that her son had ever been to Tennessee because he can't drive. He agreed that she had met Bruce 15 years prior when she needed a ride to Arizona when her truck broke down. She said that then she rented a house from him for 3 months until they had a falling out, and she's never spoken to him again since. So he just pulled this name from the ether of 15 years previous. David Powell, said that he knew Bruce's daughter and that he met Bruce through her. He denied all the allegations and was able to provide proof of an alibi, like a rock-solid alibi. And Terry Sanders, he said that David had been married to his sister. So Bruce isn't involved in this part. So David had been married to his sister, and they continued to be friends. He also denied allegations, and he also was able to provide proof through a pay stub saying that he worked 52 hours the week of June 8th, stating that it would have been impossible for him to commit the murders because he was in New Mexico at the time that one of them took place. He said the last time he spoke to Bruce was 15 years previous. Bruce was not taking going to trial lying down, and while he was waiting to go to court, he had a run-in with Roy Lucas McLaughlin, another inmate. He couldn't find out what he went to jail for, but that's beside the point, because there are recordings of conversations between him and Bruce. Why, you may ask? Because his wife, Linda, died while he was in prison, and he was the recipient of her life insurance policy. Therefore, he was able to provide funds if Roy were able to kill Lori. So Lori is Richie's mom that's in his care. That is the only one that's allowed to speak on his behalf. So he wanted Lori killed. He also wanted David and Terry killed before they could testify against him. And for each, they'd be paid $15K. So that didn't happen. So it was recorded that Bruce has now, not only is he's
adding up the charges.
Yes. So these are all conspiracy to commit murder. Solicitation to commit murder. In addition, there was a flyaway accusation that he tried to hire another inmate to kill the detective on the case, but the jury ruled that there was not enough evidence on that. He was found guilty on all 3 charges of solicitation and sentenced to 12 years apiece. Again, I'm going to shorten the timeline because there's a lot more to discuss. He was found guilty in 2010 of Sarah's murder and sentenced to life. 2018, he was found guilty of killing Samantha and sentenced to life. So he's never getting out of prison. He was sentenced. His sentence was to be served in Riverbend State Prison in Middle Tennessee. He had been investigated for the connection to another murder of Deborah Ann Glover, 43, from Atlanta, found in Swanee, Georgia, January 29th, 2007, in a Motel 6 parking lot. The connection here is that he was documented as being in the area at the time, and police believe that it's possible that he intentionally hit 2 women, killing them with his truck. In 2007, he was also charged with another murder on July 1st in Birmingham, Alabama, that he has not to trial yet so far. So it's another recent one, but it is assumed that he was the killer. This was Lucille, who went by Greta Carter. She was 44, a drug-using sex worker. She had been shot with a .22 caliber firearm in the head, left nude near a trash can on a service road. She had been left with a bag on her head and her neck wrapped in tape. Witnesses at this point described a suspect who drove a truck identical to Bruce's. 2008, he was linked to another victim, Letitia Yvonne Milliken, 27, and that was because her DNA was in his truck. So she was found dead. Her DNA is in his truck. He's a killer. She was 28 and had gone missing June 26, 2007, and that was 2 months after her family last had contact. She still has not been found. So I take that back. She wasn't found murdered. But her DNA, she's missing, and her DNA is in his truck. DNA was used from an item that her family provided to the police, because that's what you have to do.
Think there's enough DNA, enough blood to rule it a murder? Or
usually no.
Still missing?
It's very hard to prove like how much blood somebody loses for it to be a murder. Like it would have to be obvious, and I'm assuming that he's not driving around with like blood soup in the back. I mean, he's an idiot, but not that big of one. But this is why, you know, what's funny is like when the family has to provide DNA samples, so a toothbrush, a hairbrush, my DNA is on record.
Right.
Like it has to be because of my work.
Yeah.
It's on record here. It's on record in California. I've done 23andMe. I've done Ancestry. My DNA is out there, really, really out there. I even provided my DNA because for human blood for my last intern's thesis project needed human blood. So I provided my blood. So it's even a part of her thesis project. But I still, this day, clean my toothbrush religiously every single time after I use it. Like, make sure that there's none of that residual toothpaste on it because I don't want to be embarrassed if I go missing and my husband has to provide it to the police to use as a DNA sample. I don't know what the heck is wrong with me.
That's weird.
They never have to do that.
Right.
They would never need my toothbrush. But I still, because I don't want to be embarrassed with him handing over, or like, you know how sometimes the bristles start like spreading?
Oh, yeah.
I make sure that my toothbrush is like pristine. So that way, if it ever has to be given to the police, which it never will, that I won't be embarrassed, even though chances are I'll be dead.
Yeah. That's funny.
Isn't it ridiculous?
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
It's pretty bad.
Like even when I leave dishes in the sink, like if I had just run the dishwasher overnight, so there's dishes in the sink.
My current situation.
Yeah. And if I do that, I'm like, well, if I wind up dead and the police have to come to my house, I'm going to be so embarrassed by all these dishes in the sink. And I'm like, I'll be dead.
You're like, and the husband doesn't do it, so it's going to sit there.
No, and it's because I've spent, you know, a good portion of my life going through people's homes when tragedies have occurred. And let me tell you one, we don't judge. I'll go into your house. The only time that I judge is if you are a killer and your house is like cockroach infested and hoarder house. Okay, yeah, I'm going to judge because I don't like you anyway. We don't judge.
Right.
Why do I think they're going to judge? And especially because these are my brethren that would be showing up.
Your toothbrush.
Yeah, it's, if you ever, I'll have to show you next time you come to my house. You're going to notice. It's ridiculous.
You put it away before I arrive too, or is it out? Because I don't remember seeing.
It's in my bathroom.
Yeah.
But I have like a little holder for it. Yes, I have an issue with that. But yes, just so you know, if you ever do go missing and there's no DNA on record for you or anything.
I'm going to put toothpaste on your toothbrush next time I show up.
I'll know because obviously I use it every day, but yeah, your family will provide a hairbrush and a toothbrush because those are really good for DNA samples if your DNA is not already on record somewhere. Speaking of, so one of my grandmothers did like the whole family tree and everything like that. You have to remember back in the day, say people were having babies out of wedlock. Then somebody would marry them, so that way it appeared that the baby was not born out of wedlock. But it may not have been that father's baby. So when you run your DNA, you may be in for surprises. And that's how I found out who I'm not related to that's allegedly in my family tree. And I was like, my sisters and I'm obviously related to my sisters and my parents because we all did it. And our family tree is not what we thought it was.
I think I might be related to you based on the comments in the Facebook group saying I'm your sister.
Dude, you look just like
that. Was
sister.
So funny.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to keep this in because it's hilarious. Yeah. But so we're all a part of the same high school group, and my sister is only a year older than me, and we all went to the same high school. So somebody posted pictures.
Me.
Oh, it was you. Okay, so Mel posted pictures in this Facebook group of her in high school, and everybody started tagging my sister in the photos. Yeah. And my sister pulls it up, and she's like, I had to look twice to make sure that wasn't me.
I'm like, it's me.
But Melissa and my sister, they look like they could be more related than I do to my sister. It's pretty funny.
And I think you were with her when I posted that.
Yeah. And we both were like, no, maybe. It's pretty funny. It's really funny. You guys did not look that identical, like in my opinion back then, right? Like growing up, but looking back.
Because in my eyes, she was like so cool. And there's no way I would have even thought I was on her same level.
My sister is so gorgeous. It's annoying. She's so good looking. But yeah, apparently you were.
Thank you.
Damn. That ass though.
Yeah, I did have that.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up because in 2021, at the age of 70, he was now charged with the murder of Karma Purpura. She was 35, mother of two. She had been found in 2011 on a Kentucky highway, and in 2016, she was finally identified based on DNA. She had been reported missing from Indianapolis, Indiana on July 11th, 2007. Her blood was also found in his truck, in addition to her phone, her ID. That's what was found in that plastic bag. Remember how he said that he had cut his leg and, all the stuff and like the women's stuff was in there, but it's fine. It was hers. He was transferred to Indianapolis that same summer. That's where he was to go to trial for Karma Purpura, but it kept getting postponed until it just happened January of this year, and he was found guilty of her murder. Basically, he's never getting out of prison. It's just a matter of where he's serving his time now because of all of his murders. And hopefully you enjoyed it because that is the kickoff to Killer Trucker series.
Part 1.
Part 1. I think I'm going to call it the Terrible Trucker series.
I like it.
All right. Terrible Truckers.
Or we could name it after that movie.
Maximum Overdrive. All right. Talk to you guys next time.
Bye, y'all.
The views and thoughts expressed in this podcast are ours alone and do not represent the thoughts or opinions of anyone else. The information presented is for general information purposes only. We are not liable for anything you do with this information.